I never thought a simple costume party could change everything. It was supposed to be harmless fun, a themed roleplay night with friends, masks, glitter, and laughter. My best friend, Mia, had insisted I join. "Trust me, it'll be fun," she said, eyes sparkling with mischief. I agreed, expecting the usual jokes, some awkward moments, maybe a few pictures I'd cringe at later. But the moment I slipped into the costume she handed me, everything shifted. It wasn't just a dress or makeup, it was her costume, her persona, her look. The wig fit perfectly, curling around my shoulders just like hairs. The dress hugged curves I hadn't known I had, flowing delicately with every movement. Even the shoes, heels I'd never dared to walk in, somehow felt like an extension of my legs. I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror and froze. The person staring back wasn't entirely me. My face, my body, even my posture, all carried pieces of her, Mia. I blinked, touched my cheek, my jaw, my hair, and felt a rush of disbelief mixed with a strange thrill. My voice, when I whispered her name, sounded lighter, softer, closer to hers than mine. "Whoa," I muttered, laughing nervously, this isn't real." But it was. Every reflection, every step, every glance confirmed it. I looked like her. A surge of panic followed almost immediately. What if someone notices? What if I can't go back to normal? What if? My heart pounded, my hands trembled, and yet, beneath the fear, an undeniable thrill ran through me. Because along with the terror came curiosity, and with curiosity came excitement. For the first time, I wondered what it would feel like to truly step into someone else's shoes. Literally, figuratively, completely. I had no idea that by the end of the night, the costume wouldn't just be a disguise. It would be a transformation that forced me to confront fear, desire, and identity in ways I never imagined. The party started innocently enough, with laughter, music, and the clinking of glasses. But the moment I stepped through the door, reality hit me like a cold splash of water. Every eye in the room seemed to land on me. Not just casually noticing, a focused, curious stare that made my chest tighten. I could hear whispers, murmurs threading through the crowd. "Is that Mia? She looks exactly like her." My mind scrambled. "I'm not her. I'm me. I'm just wearing a costume." Yet the mirror-like reflections in the windows and the flickering candlelight reminded me otherwise. I moved cautiously, trying to adjust the skirt, the wig, the heels, all while my heartbeat hammered against my ribs. Friends approached. "Wow, you look amazing," someone said, beaming. My laugh came out softer than usual, more delicate than I intended, and I felt my stomach twist with embarrassment. Each compliment felt like a spotlight, forcing me to perform a role I hadn't rehearsed. Even the simplest interactions became hurdles. I tried to chat, but my gestures, my voice, the way I laughed, it all felt foreign. When Mia's friend reached out to touch my arm, I flinched slightly, terrified of being caught in imitation. At one point, someone nudged me playfully. "You're acting like Mia, aren't you?" they teased. I froze, panic surging. Should I admit it? Laugh it off? Pretend it's all a joke? My thoughts raced, but my lips parted only for a nervous chuckle. The real disruption, however, was internal. Every glance, every word, every movement reminded me that this wasn't just a costume. I looked like her, moved like her, and even sounded like her. Fear, confusion, and a strange, guilty excitement tangled together inside me. By the end of the night, exhaustion set in. Navigating a crowd while inhabiting someone else's image had drained me emotionally, mentally, and physically. And yet, a small, unspoken thrill lingered. The way people noticed me, the way I felt a new awareness of gestures, posture, and expressions, it was intoxicating. As I slipped into a quiet corner, away from the crowd, I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall. The person staring back wasn't fully me, wasn't fully Mia. It was a blend, an unfamiliar version of myself that sparked both fear and curiosity. I realized then that the costume wasn't just temporary. It had unlocked a door. A door into something I had never explored, stepping fully into someone else's identity, even if only for a night. And deep down, a question began to form: what if I want to explore this further? After the party, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. The costume wasn't just a disguise, it had unlocked something inside me, a door I never knew existed. I retreated to my room, locking the door behind me, and stared at my reflection for what felt like the first time in months. Alone, away from eyes that could judge or laugh, I allowed myself to explore. First came the hair. The wig Mia had lent me fell in perfect curls over my shoulders, soft and glossy, brushing lightly against my collarbone. I ran my fingers through it, amazed at how natural it felt, how the strands framed my face, how every tilt of my head changed the way light danced across it. I tilted my head this way and that, letting the curls fall naturally, feeling a shiver of excitement I couldn't quite explain. Could this really be me? I whispered, laughing nervously. Then I turned my attention to the makeup. Eyeliner, blush, subtle lip gloss. On Mia, it had been playful, confident. On me, it felt transformative. My eyes looked larger, softer, more expressive. My cheeks glowed gently in the mirror light. I traced my cheekbones with trembling fingers, marveling at the delicate curve of my jaw and the fullness of my lips. I felt a strange thrill at how different I looked, yet at the same time, a hint of recognition, as if part of me had always belonged here. This is me, somehow, I murmured, though a part of me still didn't believe it. Next came my voice. I whispered phrases I had used at the party, adjusting pitch, softening consonants, elongating vowels. My own words sounded strange, higher, airy, melodic. I tried laughing softly, letting it roll naturally, and caught myself enjoying the sound. You're different, I said aloud to the mirror, my own voice startling me. Yet beneath the surface, it felt playful, confident, feminine, almost addictive in its unfamiliarity. Movement was the next frontier. I walked across the room slowly, letting the skirt flow with each step, heels clicking lightly against the floor. I experimented with hip sway, shoulder tilt, even the way my hands fell at my sides. Some steps were awkward, clumsy, nearly causing me to stumble. Others felt fluid, natural, and almost intoxicating. I practiced turning in front of the mirror, adjusting my posture, finding the rhythm of this new form. Each small victory sent a rush of pride and excitement through me. Expressions, too, became an experiment. Smiles, winks, playful glances, I tried them all. Some felt forced, silly, ridiculous. Others felt effortless, natural, empowering. I realized that each tiny gesture, each subtle tilt of the head or flutter of the eyelashes, had the power to shape perception, not just how others saw me, but how I saw myself. I even began talking to my reflection, as though it were someone else, asking questions, teasing, laughing. What would Mia do? I whispered, tilting my head. Maybe she'd be braver than me. The thought made my heart pound. I realized the thrill of inhabiting another persona wasn't just external, it had an internal effect. I felt bolder, freer, daring to explore desires and quirks I had always suppressed. Hours passed, and I didn't notice. Each movement, each trial, each whispered phrase became a small ritual. I practiced walking, standing, sitting, adjusting my hair, playing with subtle expressions. I explored every inch of this form, relishing the textures of fabric, the way heels shifted weight, the tactile delight of soft sleeves brushing against skin. By the end of the night, I wasn't just imitating Mia, I was discovering a version of myself I had never known. A version curious, playful, confident, and willing to explore boundaries. I felt alive in ways I hadn't before, caught between fear and exhilaration, embarrassment and delight. And deep inside, a question took root, thrilling and terrifying. What happens if I step into the world like this again? After days of private exploration, staying hidden no longer felt enough. The thrill of inhabiting Mia's form demanded more. I needed to test the boundaries, to see how far I could go while still feeling in control. It started small. I ventured out into the campus courtyard, heels clicking lightly on the pavement, hair flowing over my shoulders, skirt swaying naturally. Each step was tentative at first. Every passerby's glance felt like a spotlight, forcing me to walk straighter, smile softly, and adjust gestures instinctively. My heartbeat raced, but alongside the fear ran an undeniable thrill. I'm really doing this, I thought, letting the excitement wash over me. Friends began to notice. You're different today, one said casually. My smile was soft, natural, practiced, yet tinged with uncertainty. I laughed lightly, adjusting my hair, and realized with a start that the nervous tremor I expected was fading. I was starting to inhabit this body, to claim the persona I had created in private. Interactions became my playground. Conversations, small jokes, shared glances, they were all experiments. I observed how subtle gestures, the tilt of a head, the arch of an eyebrow, a light laugh, could shape perception. Some reactions startled me. A friend lingered a moment too long in conversation, another complimented my posture. The world responded differently to me now, and it exhilarated me. Weekends became opportunities for bolder exploration. I attended small gatherings, joining friends in cafes, social games, and study sessions. Each interaction pushed my comfort zone further. I found myself adjusting posture unconsciously, letting my voice flow more fluidly, and laughing in ways that felt both natural and daring. Fear lingered, yes, but it was no longer paralyzing. It was a reminder to stay present, to observe, to refine, and to enjoy the subtle power of inhabiting someone else's form. I experimented with clothing, accessories, and subtle makeup tweaks. A scarf here, a bracelet there, eyeliner adjustments, small shifts in hairstyle, all became rituals of self-expression. I learned how even tiny details could transform not just appearance, but the way I carried myself. Confidence grew quietly, almost imperceptibly, until I realized one evening that I could walk into a room and feel fully seen, fully myself, even while wearing Mia's persona. Every new victory, no matter how small, fed the next. I practiced walking in heels for longer periods, perfected gestures, tested playful expressions in mirrors and reflections, and even began speaking to strangers with soft confidence. The thrill of being noticed, the way people reacted without judgment, fueled a growing sense of empowerment I hadn't expected. By the end of these days, I realized the truth. This wasn't just roleplay, just a costume experiment. It was discovery. I had unlocked curiosity, confidence, and boldness I didn't know I possessed. The persona I had once feared to inhabit had become a vehicle for self-expression, blending exhilaration with authenticity. For the first time, I felt comfortable in the tension between fear and excitement. I was no longer merely surviving the transformation, I was thriving in it. And somewhere deep inside, a voice whispered, "This is just the beginning." The moment of truth came unexpectedly. It was during the school's masquerade gala, an event full of glittering costumes, dramatic masks, and lights that shimmered like stars. I had prepared carefully, choosing Mia's signature dress, heels that made my legs feel impossibly long, and subtle makeup that accentuated every curve. I wanted to look perfect, but more than that, I wanted to feel perfect, to test just how far I could inhabit this persona in public. As I entered the grand hall, music swelling around me, a wave of panic hit. Hundreds of eyes, friends, classmates, teachers, turned toward me. For a fleeting second, I wanted to retreat, to vanish into shadows, to shed the persona and run back to my comfort zone. But then, beneath that fear, a spark of something else ignited. Curiosity, exhilaration, daring. I stepped forward, letting the dress sway naturally, heels clicking confidently on the floor. My posture was deliberate, my shoulders soft, my head held high. The voice I had practiced in private flowed easily now, melodic and steady. Whispers rippled through the crowd. "Is that? She looks exactly like Mia." Wow, each comment sent a mix of fear and thrill through me. But unlike before, I didn't panic. Instead, I leaned into it, letting the persona flow through me, allowing every movement to feel natural and powerful. Then it happened. A group of friends, who knew the real Mia, approached me, teasing, laughing. "You're really committed to this," one said, nudging me playfully. I froze for a heartbeat, heart pounding. For the first time, the choice was crystal clear. I could hide, claim it was a joke, and retreat, or I could embrace this fully, live boldly in the persona I had discovered. I chose the latter. I smiled softly, tilted my head, and responded in Mia's melodic, confident tone. Conversation flowed naturally, laughter spilled freely, and the fear that had once paralyzed me melted into exhilaration. Each glance, each gesture, each word was deliberate, yet effortless. I realized I was no longer pretending. I was inhabiting a new self, fully aware, fully alive. The peak of the night came when someone asked me to dance. My stomach flipped, panic clawing for control, but I let it go. I moved with the music, swaying, spinning, laughing, and feeling the audience's eyes on me, not judging, but admiring. I had stepped beyond fear. Backstage, after the music faded, I caught my reflection in a mirror. The image staring back wasn't entirely me, it was a blend, a fusion of discovery, confidence, and authenticity. The spell, the costume, the transformation, it wasn't just external. It had revealed strength I never knew I had. And in that moment, I knew with absolute certainty, hiding was no longer an option. To truly thrive, I had to embrace this identity, fully, unapologetically, and courageously. After the masquerade gala, everything changed. The costume had come off, the heels tucked back into my closet, and the wig carefully stored. But I was no longer the same. The fear that had gripped me earlier, the fear of judgment, of exposure, of being too much, had transformed into something powerful, confidence. I had faced the world in a persona I had once been terrified to inhabit, and I had survived. More than that, I had thrived. Every morning became an opportunity for intentional expression. I experimented with clothing, makeup, and hairstyles, not to imitate Mia, but to explore the sides of myself I had discovered in her persona. Soft fabrics brushing against my skin, subtle eyeliner highlighting my eyes. Playful accessories, all became rituals of empowerment. I felt the thrill of control over my appearance, but also the deeper joy of discovering who I could be when fear was stripped away. Interactions with friends shifted too. I could smile, converse, and joke with ease, confident in the way I moved, spoke, and presented myself. Compliments that once would have sent shivers of embarrassment now grounded me, affirming the small victories I had cultivated in private. And when Mia noticed, her smile warm and knowing, I realized the transformation wasn't about imitation, it was about exploration. "You're really embracing this," she said softly. "I didn't think you'd be able to pull it off so naturally." The real change, however, was internal. I had discovered courage I didn't know I possessed, an ability to inhabit a different persona and still remain authentic. I had found a thrilling balance between play and self-expression, between fear and empowerment. Each step I took, each movement, each gesture was a declaration. I am allowed to exist fully, unapologetically, and boldly. By the end of the week, I realized the truth. The costume, the heels, the makeup, they were tools, but the transformation was deeper. It had unlocked my confidence, creativity, and self-awareness. I was no longer simply surviving the experiment, I was thriving, free to explore identity, expression, and empowerment in ways I had never imagined. Standing before my mirror one last time, I smiled, not just at the reflection, but at the journey itself. The costume had faded, but the courage remained. I had stepped beyond fear, embraced curiosity, and discovered a side of myself I would never again hide. I had been transformed, not by magic alone, but by daring to explore, to play, and to embrace every thrilling, terrifying, exhilarating part of the experience. Looking back, I realized the costume party was never just about fun, it was a mirror, a challenge, and a revelation all at once. It pushed me out of my comfort zone, forced me to confront fear, and showed me a side of myself I had never dared to explore. I discovered that transformation isn't just about appearance, it's about courage, curiosity, and self-expression. If you're watching this and feel trapped by expectation, fear, or doubt, remember this: empowerment comes not from hiding, not from blending in, but from daring to explore, to experiment, and to embrace the parts of yourself you've long ignored, even if it feels scary at first. True courage isn't the absence of fear. It's choosing to step forward anyway. And authenticity, living as your truest, most unapologetic self, is the most magical transformation of all.